only 3 games left on the schedule. I know we talked about wanting to get a road victory, wanting to get a Big 12 victory. I mean, are those goals still exactly the same right now, or is there anything you feel like you have to get done before the season's over in order to move forward?
Well, I mean, the goals never change. You know, just like your way of doing things, the goals don't change. Now, you add things to that list. You don't take things away from that list. For example, it would be nice if we played good for a whole game on the road. That would be nice. It would be nice if the game were close at halftime, we showed up in the third quarter. That would be nice too. And you sit there. It isn't like it's important when you're doing that to say that. So you're not just putting it on the coaches, on the players now. You're putting it on all of us right now. We all need to do a better job. When we're on the road, and the last 3 games haven't. That's not the way it's gone. Then that would be an add-on, not a subtraction. You're still winning a game on the road, winning a conference game, winning a game on the road. You can knock off 2 of these things at one time, if you go ahead and do it. But you have to add on the fact that I'm very annoyed how last week went, and I'm not in the greatest of spirits.
Is there anything that changes from you notice from your team?
My spirit has changed.
Well,
but okay, I'm not as nice this week as I've been.
What about going on the road?
Not that I'm ever nice. So.
Do you notice any changes in your team's demeanor on the road? I mean, anything specific that?
No, I think our road schedule is very well organized, and it's not a goof around period, and it's what I've tweaked a couple things this week that I don't I've already obviously spent a lot of time thinking about this, so I've tweaked some things. We're leaving earlier. We're going to the stadium to practice. I mean, there's things that that I don't normally do that I'm doing this week because I'm not going to stay. I'm never going to stay status quo if it's not working. I'm going to try something else. So we're leaving earlier than we normally leave, and we're going right on a bus. We're going right to the stadium, and we're going to get out there. We're going to go run around. We're not just going to go. Just go there to take a look at the wonderful stadium they have there, and we're going to go to the hotel. We're going to go, check in and get right to meetings and dinner and all that other stuff, and go to sleep and get up and get going. There won't be a lot of time to think about it because before 11 o'clock kickoff happens, it happens quick.
You mentioned that Tech's a little like Baylor offensively with their tempo, and obviously you've seen a lot of that this year, but having just experienced that and kind of been torched by it a little bit, do you think that'll help you this week because it's so fresh? Or?
Well, thanks for the analogy. That's really uplifting.
Did you hear the pause though? I tried.
No, it's okay. It is what it is, right? Yeah. But I think that no matter how you practice, you can't simulate, even if you practice with 2 huddles so that you're going, but they still have to look at cards to see what the play is to try to give you the best simulation, and they're not as good at athletes as the guys that they're simulating. So still at the end of the day, you can give them the looks that they're going to go against, but not at the tempo. No matter what you do, you still can't create the tempo and get the same look. You could do one or the other. You could either get the look or you can get tempo. You can run plays as fast as you want, but it's not going to look anything like what you're getting ready for. So I think that it's a catch-22 there. But I think that they're having just played that tempo. I mean, I think that there'll be more plays where guys are more ready to go, rather than just get ready to go. I think they'll be more ready to go.
Coach, you talked about game plan, and how you will evaluate how much progress you've made. Do you do that during the season, or is that something that happens after the season? You look back and say, we did these things that we wanted to do and we didn't get this done?
Well, what you do is you every week you study self-scout. Now, self-scouts, what formations we use and what plays we run in, what's working and what's not working. So you have a pretty good idea of what's happening. But in reality, when you're in the grind of the season, what you try to do is you try to find those things that you think you can go back to the well with over and over again and have some success with, and then find a different way of doing it so that it doesn't look exactly the same to the defense, even though you're doing the same thing. So, for example, every week, we've been handing the ball off to James Sims a whole bunch. We know it, they know it, but, if you just run the exact same play the exact same way, it's just not gonna work. So you have to find, different mechanisms to create some space so that you can have success there.
Coach, a former player here broke a record in Canada for most rushing yards in a single season. James Sims has been playing well, but when he hears a story like that with a former player, his position playing well, can that motivate him to play even better? I
think the number one thing James is starting to do is he's starting to become more of a potential leader on the team. Because before he was just a ball carrier. Just come and run plays. But now, when everyone kind of rallies around you, like the offensive line rallies around you, and everyone kind of rallies around you because you're the workhorse, you're the bell cow. I think that one of the things that I've talked to him and Reggie have talked to him about in the last few weeks as this is matriculated is about taking more of the onus of the responsibility of, taking the team with him. Because obviously we're a run first team. That's no big secret. And he's the main guy. So I think that what's really helping James is he's taken more of that leadership role on, and I think it bodes well for both him and us as we go forward.
Did you share that? I assume you heard that. Did you share that news with him or the running backs?
I think that Reggie is always the guy who, kind of needles him with things like that. Well, yeah, you want to be him. Here's what he's doing. Reggie does a very, very, very good job with, keeping the running backs and forming up to date.
Another one of your running backs, Taylor Cox, had a very productive game. I think 181 net yards total. Can you talk a little bit about his progression and what you saw from him last week?
Well, Taylor is probably just as hard-nosed a runner as James is. I think that we have one of those unusual situations where I've said multiple times that the stable of backs that we have, led by James, is really, really good. And I think that Taylor is somebody who could probably handle just as many carries as James has in the game, but I don't know how you could possibly do that. I think that Taylor is going to get more and more action as we go forward, and we trust him. We trust him, and there's no, the offensive line knows that when Taylor's in the game, you better look out because he's only got one speed, and it's full. And even in practice, when he's running a play inside, if the offensive lineman's kind of a little bit high, they might get hit in the back by him because the only speed he runs is full speed.
When you're a senior with aspirations of getting drafted, how much harder is it when you play on a team that doesn't have a great record?
I think that the draft has very little to do with the record. To be honest with you, it has to do with your ability. Those guys at the next level get paid a lot of money to evaluate these players, and part of it is production, but part of it is workouts, and part of it is analysis, and most players that go to play on Sunday don't make money in their first contract. Once you make a team, it's how you perform, and that's how you make your money. There's only a handful of guys that make big money in the NFL early, and they're the guys that take it really early in the draft. So it really doesn't make that much of a difference if you get drafted in the 4th round or you're an undrafted free agent. If you end up making it and doing well, your next contract's usually where you end up making your money.
So the NFL guys are pretty good not only at evaluating the production of a player, but also maybe the talent around that player.
Every day they're coming through. If they didn't think anyone could play, they wouldn't be coming through. I'm sitting out there talking to Joe Green. I was up. Yeah, you missed it. I'm sitting out there talking to Joe Green because we know each other. You know, Tom missed that opportunity right there. He just walked by, figured I was talking to some bum. But there you are, and he's there evaluating players for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I mean, and every day the Ravens are in today. Who's the other team that's in today? The Ravens, the Steelers, and somebody else. I forget who else was there.
The Lions.
Who was it?
The Lions.
Okay, so I mean, every day they come in because they're not coming in for just a courtesy appearance in New Orleans. I mean, there's guys they're looking at. And when you look at one guy, let's say they're looking at Tanner. Well, when you see Tanner, you see the other senior offensive lineman at the same time. And if they're playing good, they'll get noticed. And if they're playing bad, they'll get noticed. But they're going to get noticed either way.
How do you balance developing the players for next year and kind of finishing out with the seniors this year?
Well, I think the most important thing is on a weekly basis, you try to make sure that you're putting your team in a position where you believe is the best position to compete to win that game, no matter who you're playing. You never go into a game and say, well, we're not going to win this one, so let's just play him. You don't do that. And a lot of times, it's not like what you've seen in a game. It might be what we've seen in practice. Like one guy might be tearing it up in practice, and the other guy who's playing ahead of him might have no production. So in a case like that, we say, well, why wouldn't we put him in? Let's see what he does. So I think that the most important thing is just go week by week and worry about just that week. I don't think you can worry about anything other than that week.
What kind of progress have you seen in your Sunday practices without the seniors?
Sunday's the most fun day of the entire week as far as practice goes. Okay, because Sundays is kind of a day where the guys who played that are practicing, kind of get it out of their system. And then the guys who don't play that are practicing get an opportunity to run our plays instead of running show team. Because it's just offense against defense. It isn't like any show team right now. So now, you're going one-on-one, good against good, I think it's a very competitive practice, because there's no cards, there's no show team. It's just all fundamentals. It's a whole bunch of time on fundamentals and techniques, and it's just offense against defense without cards. And you'd be surprised how much more fun. I mean, let's say a guy like Justin McKay. Justin McKay runs show team Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So he goes through our individuals and everything, so he does get fundamental and technical coaching, but when it comes to offense, he's not with us. He's down there running show team. He's got a jersey on, running show team receiver. And a lot of you guys haven't figured it out yet. You go to practice. Why they have a different jersey? They're wearing the jersey of the other team. That's why they're doing it. Okay, they're like a show team receiver. Okay, so that we don't even see him Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday halfway through practice. He's going. He's on the defensive field. So now on Sunday he gets his chance to shine. Now he's running every route we run. And now it's an opportunity for us to all see him doing our stuff, not just doing what's on the card.
We've talked about him a little bit, but Jake Heaps, how much did this year on the sideline benefit him in the future?
Jake is very, very, very frustrated because, he believes, he's frustrated that he can't help. Okay, but why he's frustrated that he can't help, there's two really good things that are happening. He's been able to learn the offense, and obviously if he were the quarterback, you'd tailor it more towards him. If whoever the quarterback is, you tailor it more towards them. Okay, but he's learned the offense, and he's formed relationships with a lot of guys, especially guys that aren't the front line guys that are developing players, because he spent a lot of time with them. I mean, he's the head guy down there on the show team, and let me tell you something. He's the show team player of the week every week. We never give it to him, but it isn't even close. Every week he's the guy. That poor defense, you think that they get passes completed on them in the game? You should see this guy in practice. Okay, well, that's good and bad, by the way. But all I'm saying is he gets he has fun in practice, because he's just down there with all, he's with Justin McKay. And like, if Justin does something wrong, we say, come on, Justin, get out of the break, he's developing relationships with people that he could potentially be playing with if he ends up being, a quarterback. And last but not least, he's really helps us in recruiting. He's a hidden gem in recruiting, because all these guys that are being recruited all want to talk to him. Remember, he can't call anyone, because I can't give somebody a telephone number and say, hey, can you call this recruit, because it's an NCAA violation. So you can't do that. So thank God for the world of Facebook, when people friend people and things like that. That's how, the modern day technology, that all goes down.
You mean Jim, just in terms of saying
I
what's
mean,
good
he's
about
just,
being here?
they ask him anything they want.
Yeah.
We never tell them anything to say. And it's every time I can't tell you how many recruits I talked to last night. It was a bunch. But I mean, almost everyone I say, yeah, I talked to Jake last week. Yeah, I talked to Jake last week. Yeah, I talked to Jake last week. Jake's wife must be mad at me right now.
This is a little off topic, but what are your kind of social media what are your views on that? Because I know the last
Don't
coaching
be
group-
stupid. That's a good way to start. Look at when the guys go on Twitter and say stupid things. I'm forced to say things to them. And it really, use some common sense. Use some common sense. The last thing I want to do, I don't even go on my kid's Facebook, because I promised him I'd never go on his Facebook. But the last thing you want to do is go on somebody's Facebook and see 50 pictures of people getting drunk on Facebook. Now, how dumb is that? You just use common sense. That's all. That's all any parent would ask. Just use common sense. Now, when they don't use common sense, I then treat them like a little kid, just the way you would expect me to. And that does happen. That truly does happen.
Coach, you mentioned Tommy Tuberville and the success he's had at different stops. Is there a common denominator among coaches that you know that have taken programs and kind of resurrected them? Is there something about a coach that makes him good at taking a program and making it good?
Well, he kind of grew under Coach Johnson, just like I grew under Parcells and Belichick. And I think that when you coach under really, really good coaches, the one theme that everyone takes is do not ever deviate from the course. But you have to have a plan, and you just got to stick to it. And there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. But I think that just as long as you come in there and say, this is the way we're going to do business, this is the way we're going to fix the problems, and we got to just stay focused and stay that way. That's one of the reasons why I was talking to so many recruits last night, and I'm going to do it again tonight. Okay, because you're 1-8 now. And I was so fired up. I had a great time recruiting last night. I said, I can't wait to get you here when we start smacking these people. They love to hear that stuff. I had a lot of gas in my tank last night, but that's part of this job. Part of this job. See, you guys see one element. You see the business, very matter of fact. Just answer the questions. Believe it or not, I actually have a personality. I know it's tough for you to imagine. Okay, and it's not just sarcasm and obnoxiousness. I actually do have a personality. And they see it, a lot more than you would see it, because you don't let it out very often. Because every time you do, you're on the latest line. What stupid thing you said today.
Do they also see the sarcasm and obnoxiousness?
Oh, absolutely. I can't pull back from that. But then I blame it on my parents. I said I grew up in New Jersey, it's their fault. If I had grown up in Lawrence, I probably wouldn't be that way, but I did. So that's where they settled. It's their fault. That's an easy one.
Do you have much of an update about back home?
It's a disaster. And you hear people say how bad it is. It's that bad. I mean, my brother still doesn't have power, my mother, she still doesn't have power, Coach Allen's dad still doesn't have power, this is way afterwards now. My mother's staying with my sister, my one brother's told the other brother, why don't you come and stay with us, and now he said, well, now it's getting cold, we got fireplaces, but we got no heat, I mean, it's, and then, remember now, Jersey Shore, when you saw those pictures, and you saw Belmar, and you saw Manasquan, and you saw Point Pleasant, that's where I'm from. You know, I met my wife in Manasquan. That's one of the places you're seeing. She was living in Belmar. That was one of the places you were seeing. We have a lot of friends at Point Pleasant. We have friends that own the Point Pleasant Boardwalk that right now doesn't exist. I mean, it's bad. And then, you know, there's, you know, you don't want to get into name dropping, but you guys know that I'm friends with, you know, couples. The singer guy here, I just had a benefit there, and he went up and down the Jersey Shore, and he said, the Jersey Shore as we know it does not exist. And that's a strong statement, if you think about it. I mean, you know, I've been following as much as I possibly can, trying to, you know, reach the people, make sure they're okay. But everyone's okay. Everyone I know is okay. Physically, they're okay. But I mean, there's a lot of damage, and it's going to take a long, long time to repair all that stuff. A long time.
Just one more football question. Do you?
Oh, we're back to football.
That would have been a good place to end.
That would have been. I thought that was definitely it. But you know, go ahead, stick it in there. One more, Matt. Go
I've
ahead.
been wondering this. You kind of talked about, you know, Tony getting back out there and taking the hit and what he said to Charlie Jr. and all that. Have you been surprised that the injury maybe limited him some?
I think you'll see. I think we get this brace off of his arm this week, and as soon as that happens, I think that, you know, it'll be night and day. You know, I think that what happens is, you know, you can't bend it that much, and you got this brace to protect it, but then you end up playing. You don't only carry the ball in one hand, you don't carry it in the other. I think that this week's about the week that, you know, we get past that stage.